Good morning. Hello. Hello to all of you out there in the sanctuary and to those of you who are joining us online. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Vero Beach, or as we refer to it, UUFVB. And a special welcome this morning to Reverend Scott Alexander. For those of you who may not know, Scott effectively served our congregation as settled minister for 11 years in the past. Great to have you, Scott. And Scott's got a lot to say to us this morning, so I'm going to hurry through some of this. I'm Jack Stiefel. My pronouns are he, his, and him. And for those of you who may be visually challenged, I'm an older guy with white hair and glasses, no facial hair, and my skin is on the pale side. Now, whether you're young or old, gay or straight, or identify in some other wonderful way, whether you are gathered here with us or joining us from cyberspace, you are welcome here. No matter your frame of mind, just as you are welcome. Now, a bit about us. UUFVB is a caring, religious community. We encourage spiritual growth and we seek justice for all. That is our mission. Now, if you're visiting for the first time this morning, we're really pleased that you're here. Join us, please, for coffee hour after the service, or sometimes as we refer to it, the UU Communion. Just follow the crowd to Fellowship Hall, and please take a red mug so that we can identify you as our guest and can give you an especially warm UU welcome. And now you all know what time it is. Time to silence those cell phones that you might have left on accidentally, and I thank you for that. Now at this point, I'm going to ask my wife Nancy to join me up here. She and I have been asked to speak with you this morning about social justice.
Now, why have we been asked to do that? Well, because we've been around here longer than anyone else. Yep, for about 44 years that this congregation has existed. And we've been involved in just about all the social justice work that this fellowship has pursued. So, we could share a lot of history. But no, we won't, not this morning. Our focus this morning is on the here and now, on what our congregation is doing right now to advance social justice.
Our fellowship has always been on the forefront of social justice efforts, and now is no exception. We advance social justice in numerous ways. Most of us think first and foremost about service as a way to advance social justice. But we also utilize education, advocacy, and witness in our efforts. And an example of education is our Black History programs. An example of witness is walking in the MLK parade, writing to your legislator, or signing a petition. Those are ways, like about reproductive rights. Those are ways to utilize advocacy in your social justice work.
Now, are you familiar with the social justice working groups? They plan and carry out the programs and the events that promote social justice. There are no fewer than 13 of those social justice working groups. And many of them are so woven into the fabric of our congregational life that we kind of forget that they're actually social justice programs. And these groups include, there they are, the Sharing of Sustenance, the Sunday Fund, the Fair Trade Corner, the Little Free Libraries, Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, Project Niños, Martin Luther King Day Parade, and the Social Justice Film Series. For more information about any of these programs, please see us at the Social Justice table in Fellowship Hall.
We could talk about the details here for the whole service, but we're not going to. Just come and see us, please, if you're interested. Now, in addition to these programs that you've just seen listed up here, that's 8, we have 5 additional working groups that involve a large number of folks who plan numerous, impactful, and very different activities. These include the Coalition for Racial Justice. Can I hear a shout out for the Coalition for Racial Justice?
Yes.
Yeah! The Initiative for Reproductive Justice.
Yes.
And the Green Team does environmental things.
Yes.
The Welcoming Congregation
Yes.
makes all of us feel welcome, but especially those who are gay. And the Transitional Meals Team
Yes.
working group. And again, we'd love to share details with you about all of these. See you after the service for that.
Now, these last 5 working groups each have expansive plans for their work next year. They have the people power, they have the energy, they have the enthusiasm. Now, what they need from you is your support. With that, the possible can become the actual.
So they can't do it all alone? They need the congregation's support. Yes. Now let's see. What have we forgotten? Oh, yes. The Social Justice Steering Committee. That committee is made up of all the leaders of the 13 working groups in the social justice umbrella. The committee provides coordination and assistance to the working groups while looking for ways that tasks can be shared and mutually supported.
Okay, now, Jack, what are you thinking? Now, these folks need more. They have lots and lots of knowledge that they didn't have before they came to this service. Knowledge about social justice in this fellowship. And the real excitement and the gratification is not the knowledge, but the doing. If you're already involved in advancing social justice, thank you.
Thank you.
And if you're not yet involved, please join us in our efforts to make this a better community,
A better state, a better nation.
and a better world. Thank you.
Thank you. Now let's take a moment to greet each other. Look around and be sure to greet those who you don't know or who you don't know well, those who will be your future UU friends. Now, service, let us hear the introit.
I'm delighted to be back. I just wanted to do something. How many of you, I've been gone 4.5 years. Whoa, I've been gone 4.5 years. How many of you came to this congregation after I have left? Raise your hands. Exactly. Congregations have 9% churn every year. So in just 4.5 years, you become a new congregation, and that is great. I love seeing old familiar faces, but I also love seeing new faces. Anyway, let's move along here. Chalice lighting. Please join me in saying the words that are printed up above as Jack lights the chalice. We light this flame to remind us love is the center. As we grow and connect, mature and deepen, love remains the center. When the light of truth burns all else away, love remains. Join with us in the opening hymn, Rise as You Are Able, Light of Ages and of Nations, verses 2 and 3. We'll just use the...
Good morning. The RE Youth Program will be doing Time for All Ages today, so come on up. They've been working hard on this now for a few months. Andrew Brack and Hunter Wishstar will share with you all the RE Youth Covenant that they've created. I'll get the stools here. And Annalie and Raven and I will be assigning a few words to go alongside of the written and spoken words.
We are a group of mammals who put love at the center of our lives. We work toward creating friendship out of fellowship. We walk toward being kind and respectful to one another. We are connected and all shine together when we treat each other with dignity.
May you know,
Now, this is the time in our service when we focus on our joys and our sorrows, our gifts and our needs. Before you are bowls of water. Water, the sustenance of life. Water buoys us up, it nourishes, it cleanses, and it replenishes us. It's the source of life, which creates beauty, and also the making of tears. In this community, like water, we sustain each other. This is especially true when we buoy each other up in times of sadness, when we nourish each other in times of want, cleanse each other with acts of kindness and generosity, and replenish one another when our hearts are weary and worn. Jack will add salt to the water for the tears that have fallen in the past week. Let us remember that there are some among us in pain. And let us be tender with one another, for we really don't know what's held in the silent sanctuary of each other's hearts. But the tears that have fallen from our eyes over the past week may also have included tears of joy and laughter. And for those uplifting moments when we were touched by the bounty and the beauty of nature, by a hug or a smile, by a caring act of friendship, Jack will add some flower petals to remind us of the beauty and the joy that surround us. Now, if you would like to add a pebble for a joy or a sorrow to our collective bowl of care, I invite you to come forward. But first, now there may be some of you who are with us online that would like a pebble placed in the water. Jack will add that now. And if some of you here would like Jack to place a pebble for you, please raise your hand. And now I invite any of you who wish to come forward at this time. that we offer one another keep us connected within this hour and within the week ahead.
And now is the time in our service when we express our gratitude and our commitment by sharing our financial resources. To contribute to the fellowship, place your offering in an envelope found on the back of the pews, or donate to UUFVB by clicking on the QR code with your phone. But today is also Sharing of Sustenance Sunday. Where have we heard of that before today? Sharing of Sustenance Sunday, one of our social justice outreach efforts. On the second Sunday of each month, the loose cash that you place in the offering basket supports both the food pantry of Indian River County and our fellowship's monthly Meals for Persons in Transitional Housing. The non-perishable foods and toiletries that you may have brought today are delivered to the Indian River Food Pantry, as well as most of the loose cash offering. But some of the loose cash offering also finances Meals for Persons in Transitional Housing. Our fellowship's meals team prepares and delivers meals to 3 transitional housing programs each month: Camp Haven, James Arthur Court, and Naomi's Place. These agencies provide formerly homeless persons, both men and women, with interim housing. And now, let us receive our offering generously and gratefully.
Beautiful. Thank you. Before Jack and I begin with our topic this morning, I ask, as a guest in your pulpit and as your minister emeritus who served this wonderful congregation for more than a decade, I ask to share this moment of personal privilege. I sent this to my folks at the Unitarian Church North in Mequon, Wisconsin, day before yesterday, so they also have heard this reflection. As I know you all know and feel deep to your hearts, this is a most dangerous and violent moment in the life of our nation and world. Specifically, what we have all witnessed over the last 2 weeks is our current administration in Washington spiraling out of control as it has grossly abused power and violence, both domestically, most tragically, of course, in Minneapolis, and internationally, most heinously in Venezuela. Our current president's lust for unrestrained power and domination over others has led him and those around him to act in systematically unconstitutional, undemocratic, and it must be said, immoral ways, endangering the very underpinnings of our republic and world order. Let there be no mistake about any of this. The events in Minneapolis and Venezuela are all about the exercise of unrestrained and brutal power and distraction by a dangerously unrestrained and unwise president. Dynamics that endanger domestic tranquility and world peace. This is not what America should be about. What is clear is that in the days and weeks ahead, our deepest American and deepest Unitarian Universalist values and principles will continue to be severely tested and threatened. It will be up to us, as faithful and caring Americans, to push back responsibly, however we can, against these evil forces. First and foremost, this requires us to remain as fully human and humane and calm as we can, living peacefully with our neighbors and friends by what we know to be good and right and just. Next, we must defend our immigrant neighbors, demand police and military restraint, and insist that international law and order be respected by our president and government, keeping in mind that what is roiling our nation and the world is this current president's lust for power and domination over others. Let us all promise to work hard to persuade our neighbors, our co-workers, our family and friends of the moral importance of our nation returning to its highest ideals. These are terribly scary and dangerous times, my friends. May we as Unitarian Universalists strive bravely to faithfully protect what needs protecting and be ever guided by the moral spirit and compassionate values of our faith, and may our hearts be steadfastly guided by love and the demands of justice. May God help us all. And now Jack and I will read a piece on science and religion.
This is going to seem really tame after that, folks.
Well, you pick these topics months ahead. You know, what can I tell you? This is by Unitarian Universalist Paul Friedman, who's a podcaster. Some people separate religion and science and believe that to live authentically, one must choose between them. In contrast, Unitarian Universalists tend to agree with Albert Einstein, who said, "Science without religion is lame, and religion without science is blind."
The statement may seem puzzling until one considers a wise folk tale from Uganda about two elderly villagers, one blind and one lame. Everyone else in their community was occupied in fighting off or fleeing from an unexpected attack from an enemy tribe. As a result, these two handicapped individuals were forgotten and left behind. They knew if they did not get themselves out of the village quickly, both would most likely be killed. The blind man turned to his lame companion and offered to carry him to safety on his shoulders, provided the lame man would guide him on keeping to the path that led to the next village. The lame man saw the wisdom in this plan, so he readily agreed. He became the eyes for the blind man. The blind man became legs for the lame man, and the two together found their way to safety.
UURE leader Sophia Lyon-Faz maintained that this partnership sheds light on the most fitting relationship between science and religion. Each domain is incomplete in itself, representing but a part of our human potential. In these troubling times, science and religion need to view one another as partners if the human race is to survive.
They need to talk frankly and fully together, understand each other's values, share their insights, and give each other constructive criticism without becoming alienated. Like any two life partners, they will become estranged if each insists that the other is wrong and must adopt their own viewpoint exclusively, instead of respecting that each plays a different and potentially complementary role in people's and society's life.
Here ends the morning reading.
For this we stand, all peoples of the earth, in spirit as in law, across the sacred land. Our worth and dignity bestowed to each, as right of birth, our lives in interdependence. For this we stand. For this we stand, one human family, evolving tapestry, spun of a single strand, of earth and water, born this harvest oil of diversity. One flame of life bright within us. For this we stand. For this we stand. Mysterious unity, integrity as from the single heart is alive. Our humble stand, informed by wisdom of centuries. Our every breath gift of spirit. For this we stand.
I'm 76, and I'm having some back problems this week and last week, so I'm going to revert to a Unitarian 19th century tradition of the preaching desk. Many of our famous old preachers had preaching desks, including Theodore Parker, who kept a loaded revolver on his in his Boston church to chase away the slave capturers. That Millard Fillmore was a Unitarian president, I'm afraid to say. He signed the Fugitive Slave Act, and Boston's freed slaves were no longer safe. Well, Parker had a gun and a sword next to his preaching desk. I don't have either of those things, despite my harsh feelings about our current president. So I am going to read from the preaching desk this morning. To my mind, one of the greatest intellectual and spiritual tragedies, repeated sadly again and again over time, is when a religion, any religion, refuses to accept the known laws and undeniable realities and truths of science. It's a tragedy because whenever religious dogma or belief is put up in rigid opposition to the established facts of natural science, i.e., how the world actually works, in the end, religion of factual necessity loses the argument and ends up looking ridiculous in the eyes of the world. A couple of quick examples. The great Italian scientist Galileo, 1600s, in the year 1632, this great thinker published a book entitled Dialogue on the Two Chief World Systems, which stated the now obvious scientific truth that contrary to Catholic doctrine of the time, the earth revolves around the sun. This new scientific understanding, which contradicted the old homo and earth-centric theological assertion that the sun revolves around the earth and around humanity, led Galileo to being summarily tried and convicted of heresy in a Catholic Church court known, as you know, as an Inquisition. The church authorities ordered all copies of Galileo's scientific book destroyed. Banning books is not new. The great scientist, in spite of knowing full well of the astrological truth he was sharing, was forced to publicly renounce his research, and he was sentenced to life imprisonment, which was eventually reduced to home confinement because he was so famous in the world. Galileo is still under house arrest for daring to contradict church doctrine, still churning out scientific insights and innovations, died a few years later. And although soon all astronomers and physicists, not to mention religious leaders around the world, came to slowly accept the fact that the earth did in fact revolve around the sun, it took the Roman Catholic Church, are you ready for this, until 1992. 359 years after Galileo's heresy trial, to officially acknowledge the church's error in its heinous treatment of the scientist. Here's the story from the November 10th edition of the 1992 New York Times. Quote, moving formally to rectify a wrong, Pope John Paul II acknowledged in a speech today that the Roman Catholic Church had erred in condemning Galileo 359 years ago for asserting the earth revolves around the sun. The address by the Pope before the Pontifical Academy of Sciences closed a 13-year investigation into the Church's condemnation. And the New York Times ends, one of history's most notorious conflicts between faith and science. To make matters even worse, National Public Radio recently reported that a new poll indicates, I'm not making this up, that, there it is, 1 in 4 Americans today believes that the sun revolves around the earth. 1 in 4 when asked. God help us. All right. Second example, equally stark, of how modern scientific fact eventually always trumps old religious dogma. It's a known and irrefutable scientific fact that our planet Earth home and all of its countless animal and plant species has been in existence for millions of years, is evolving and changing with the rest of the solar system and the countless galaxies. And beyond that, every living thing on this planet today has come into its present form because of countless generations of biological evolution, natural selection, and adaptation to ever-changing conditions and environments. The mechanism of evolutionary biology as you all know and understand, come to lie at the center of all inquiry in our natural sciences as to how life on this planet, within and among species, works. As famed geneticist Dobianski wrote in 1973, nothing in biology makes any sense except in the light of evolution. Today, every reputable American scientific organization that has weighed in on the the old evolution versus intelligent design controversy that state governments have been mucking around with for years, trying to teach intelligent design as a scientific truth. Every scientific organization has unequivocally affirmed again and again evolution as, quote, the bedrock of modern scientific knowledge. I quote from the recent American Astronomical Society statement on the importance of teaching evolution in our schools and only evolution as a scientific truth. Evolution is a valid scientific theory for the origin of species that has been repeatedly tested and verified through observation, formulation of testable statements to explain those observations, and controlled experiments or additional observations to confirm its universal validity. This scientific theory, evolution, is the unifying concept that explains the physical universe. Yet, as you all know also, in the ancient Hebrew scriptures, in the book of Genesis, the first book of the Bible, which was written and compiled by many disparate authors centuries before humanity ever had even an inkling of how the universe actually scientifically works and actually evolves, there's a beautiful, in the book of Genesis, there's a beautiful description, and to me it's a wonderful mythic metaphor of how the world was created by God in, as you all know, 7 days, conveniently works out to the week, as depicted here in this dramatic, centuries-old Italian painting by Raphael. The tragedy here, I think, both intellectually and spiritually, is that, as you know, many conservative fundamentalist Christians insist that this obviously fanciful, poetic, and metaphoric description, primitive description of how our world came into being in 7 actual days and 24 actual hours times 7, that they insist this must be taken as literally true. In other words, we must all believe our planet Earth and everything that lives upon it was once and for all divinely created just as it is today, 7 days, 7 actual 24-hour days, about 7,000 or 8,000 years ago. And how they came up with that, God only knows. And this should be taught, they insist, in public schools as truth. And, quote, as a viable theory of how the universe and humanity came to exist. This belief, of course, is called creationism. And it flies in the face, as you all know, of absolutely everything Earth scientists and astronomers know about the slow and steady and reliable formation of our universe, the long history of Earth, and the steady yet plodding evolution, including the regular processes of adaptation and extinction that affects all plant and animal species. And so creationists, when they look at the world, are obliged to deny all kinds of reality and facts, from the clear fossil record of the dinosaurs, which dates back not 7,000 years, but 230 million years, the last going extinct about 65 million years ago. And it forces them to deny the truth that microbes, sometimes in a matter of weeks or months, become resistant strains that cannot be treated by modern medicines. The undeniable reality of evolutionary biology similarly played itself out with the evolving COVID virus that we all went through. You know, where does the COVID virus, as it was constantly evolving and changing and proving a difficult target, how does that tie into creationism and the idea that nothing changes? It's, you know, viruses are constantly moving evolutionary targets. Ideological creationists, wedded to the idea that our creation is a fixed and final reality created in just 7 actual astronomical days, are trapped in the scientifically unsustainable position that God created creation precisely as it is now a few thousand years ago. How much better for the sustainability of conservative faith it would have been when faced with the irrefutable truth of millions of years of evolution if the conservative religionists had simply said, okay, evolution is factually and scientifically so, This is how our universe mechanically works. But the old poetic creation story found in Genesis is still true, because it beautifully describes, in the literary language of the day, our belief that there must have been a spirit of love, a divine mystery, a holiness involved in the shaping of this miraculous and beautiful world. How much better it would have been for them, for the sustainability of their faith, had they been able to say that. And just an important aside, it's not only religions that strike an oppositional stance to scientific truth. Some governments, the current day perhaps. Some governments make the same mistake. Take our current administration in Washington. The Department of Health and Human Services, currently led by Robert F. Kennedy Jr., God preserve us, refuses to accept and acknowledge the truths of vaccine science, leading to the deadly and unnecessary outbreaks of measles. 400 cases now in South Carolina over the weekend? And other dangerous childhood diseases that are easily prevented by the realities of vaccine science. This anti-science ideology is much more dangerous than the Roman Catholic Church denying Galileo his astronomy, because this affects hundreds of young people and will lead, as you all know, to much more death, unnecessary death and illness in the United States. It's not just religions that go wrong, governments go wrong too. My point here, back to religion and science. My point here is that science, the purely rational pursuit of the facts about how the natural world works, and religion, the more elusive, spiritual and ethical truths that can help us, I hope, live joyously and responsibly and well here on earth. These two spheres of human knowledge and quest need not stand in disagreement with one another. This is why, as someone who believes in the albeit somewhat separate importance of both science, which I completely respect and go to for learning, and religion, to which I have devoted my entire professional life, I want both of these spheres to be in comfortable collaboration. Let's see the picture of Dr. Elka Jordan. Before I was here for 11 years, I spent 12 years at a congregation, River Road Unitarian Church in Bethesda. It was a wonderful, bright woman. There she is, Elka Jordan. She was on the search committee that called me there. She had just completed mapping the entire DNA code for our species. And this mapping, you all know, that all human beings, every last one of us on the planet, share an amazing 99.9% of our species' genetic markers. Here's the way the National Human Genome Research Institute, which she helped to run, puts this. When researchers completed the final analysis of the Human Genome Project in April of 2003, they confirmed that the 3 billion base pairs of genetic letters in humans were 99.9% identical in every person on the planet. What an amazing scientific and religious fact. Religious fact. What all this scientific discovery that was done in Bethesda and elsewhere means is that all the many, sometimes dramatically striking differences that exist between persons and races and cultures, the wide diversity of human hair, some of us have it, some of us don't, hair, eye, skin color, the countless variations of human and facial and body features. You can be in Spain and run across a neighbor and recognize them because they're so unique. Our differences in height, weight, athletic abilities, and gait, sexual orientation, and gender identity, not to mention all of our incredibly countless personality and intellectual differences, are all accounted for, all these differences, in 1/1000th of what it makes us human. 1/1000th. Now, I must pause here to issue one critical caveat. I preached this sermon somewhere else once, and this nerdy scientist guy came up to me, a Cornell-trained microbiologist. There's always one in a UU church, always one. He came right up to me after the service and said, "Not so fast, Reverend." He said, "As you may be aware," which of course I wasn't, "the recent discoveries about the complexity of so-called junk DNA complicates this picture about the 99.9% human commonality research." He said, "There may be far more genetic variables that account for human differences than we earlier recognized." So now I'll defer about junk DNA and what they find out about that later. But the basic fact remains that the Genome Project decided that 3 billion, in terms of the 3 billion base pairs of genetic letters, we are 99.9% identical. And the really neat part about this absolutely undeniable scientific fact about the human family's overwhelming biological connectedness and belonging and oneness to one another is that this is exactly what Unitarian Universalists have been saying for 500 years spiritually about humanity. Since their very beginnings as organized religious and intellectual movements in Europe during the 16th and 17th century, both Unitarianism and Universalism have faithfully proclaimed the irreducible oneness of humanity. The early Unitarians in America, most noticeably the Transcendentalists of early New England, saw persons everywhere as mystically connected to one another and to God, the spirit of the world. And they viewed the sacredness of the whole human family. And the early Universalists similarly saw every person as so beautiful a child of God that they could not, even by great sin or wrongdoing, be separated from God's holy and eternal love that he had for his family. Listen, now this reading is a bit, Ken Patton wrote this in the 50s, so he uses male language, so skip over the male pronouns. But this reading is called Our Common Bonds, and I think it's beautiful. "Know the bonds by which we are bound to one another, for we are not alone. A man is a road where his brothers may walk. His body is the bed of a stream through which flow the many waters of his world and race. His heart is a city where his brothers may build their dwellings. A man has many wires strung in the wind, and he must sing the song of the air that flows over him. Tears awaken tears, laughter awakens laughter. Another man's sorrow takes up lodging within us. When the stranger weeps at the death of one he loves, we too must weep. For the death of one is the symbol of the death of all, and no one can escape its meaning. When one baby is born, it is the symbol of all birth and life. Therefore, all men must rejoice and lose their hearts to a child. Hunger bites all men, and desire afflicts us all alike. All men are opened by love and moved by the ecstasy of one another. One enveloping air gives breath to the men of all continents, and one sun shines on us all. From the same river of time have come the waters of life. All men smile with their lips and weep with their eyes. A smile disregards the color of a face, and the moaning of grief is alike in all tongues." And then he ends, "Pity and compassion are the deep workings of us. They speak forth the completeness of our being." And listen to the way American Universalist poet, and Chicago poet, he wasn't formally a part of a Universalist church, but he was buried in one. Anyway, Sandberg expresses the same vision of human oneness in the preface to his classic 1950s photographic collection entitled The Family of Man. He writes, "Everywhere is love and lovemaking, weddings and babies from generation to generation, keeping the family of man alive and continuing. Everywhere the sun, moon, and stars, the climates and weathers have meaning for people. Though meanings vary, we are alike in all countries and tribes in trying to read what sky, land, and sea say to us. Alike and ever alike, we are on all continents of the need of love, food, clothing, work, speech, worship, sleep, games, dancing, fun. And then he ends, from the tropics to Arctics, humanity lives with these needs so alike, so inexorably alike. This vision of human oneness and the accompanying ethic of responsibly belonging to one another that comes with it is perhaps the most enduring and sacred legacy of our Unitarian Universalist faith. Our faith has always, always been animated and informed by the theological and ethical affirmation of radical human connectedness and belonging. And as I have already pointed out, this theological and ethical affirmation is profoundly confirmed by human genome science. Science and religion see the same human reality of connectedness and belonging. The scientific evidence is irrefutable. We are 99.9% alike if we would only learn it on the spiritual side. So why is it, I ask with all my heart, why is it that so many human entities, so many religions, so many political parties, so many governments, so many tribal communities seem to devote so much pointless spiritual time and effort to unnecessarily dividing humanity along this fault line, this arbitrary fault line or another? Why is it that so many religions and institutions and nations, in the face of the scientific evidence that confirms our radical belonging to one another, spend so much spiritual capital uselessly trying to separate humans along the lines of who's the sheep and who's the goat, who's the saved and who's the damned, who's worthy or unworthy, who's a citizen or not a citizen, who's a true believer or a false believer, who's a person of light or a person of darkness, who's a person of God or a person of the devil. I might as well be right out and say it this morning. This Unitarian Universalist believes that it is a profound spiritual tragedy that so many religions and so many governments and so many folks refuse to take the reality and beauty of our radical belonging to one another into their hearts and into their beliefs and then into their social actions and ethical behaviors. This, of course, is only natural for me. I'm a third-generation Unitarian Universalist who grew up having this belief in the oneness of humanity repeatedly affirmed by my churches and my parents. I find the assertion that humanity must be divided no matter what imagined fault line the dividers use. And some of the people in Washington right now are perfect dividers. They know exactly how to divide us. No matter what, this may eventually lead to the undoing of our species if we do not learn to unlearn this bad behavior and these bad ideas. That is why, as I suggested in my sermon title this morning, when it comes to understanding humanity and the irretrievably holy unity of our human condition, Unitarian Universalism is 99.9% right. I'm not a UU chauvinist, but we're right. Science is right, and we're right. And that means others are wrong. I'm sorry, they're just wrong when they say humanity must be divided. We are right when we fight for social and economic justice for people everywhere. We are right when we welcome immigrants and refugees. We are right when we refuse to deny our care and concern for those who outwardly at least appear very different from ourselves. We are right. By God, we are right when we proclaim that every man, woman, and child is a part of our human family and deserves respect, deserves dignity, deserves protection, deserves compassion and love. And look where we are right now in America in January of 2026. I know you all feel the terrible weight and tragedy of what is sadly happening in America right now. We're all sad and sick about it. Some are even fleeing the news, not refusing to watch television anymore. We find ourselves living in an increasingly mean and angry culture, a mean and angry nation with mean and angry leaders that is increasingly and tragically finding ways to demonically divide and distance human beings who belong together from one another along some arbitrary fault line or another. Over recent months in particular, and from the words and actions coming right out of some of the highest offices in our land, some Americans, are allowing themselves to be cynically pitted against one another. Black, brown, and white, gay, bisexual, and straight, male, female, and transgender, privileged and poor, immigrant and native-born, young and old, able-bodied and disabled, pitted against one another for cynical political and economic gains of some. What is happening right now in America is not only spiritually wrong, it is morally corrupt, and it is scientifically unsustainable. It is hateful, and it is unholy. Science and religion send the same message. We are told by some in power and privilege we do not irretrievably belong to one another as human beings, that we do not have a moral responsibility for the well-being and safety of one another, that we do not need to be, as the Bible teaches so profoundly again and again and again, to be our brothers and sisters' keeper. As Unitarian Universalists living in this mean and divisive time, we have a moral and spiritual duty to offer a different, more inclusive and caring view of what it means to be a human family. We have a duty to remind humanity that they are 99.9% connected, both scientifically and spiritually. I believe in the long history of humanity, the time has come for us to put away all our false doctrines of human divisiveness and embrace only those theological and spiritual beliefs and ethical injunctions that support and remind us of our belonging, holy, irretrievable belonging to one another. For me, the heart and soul of our UU faith is beautifully summarized in these simple lines by poet Carl Sandburg, which he ends his epic poem, The People Yes, with. It is permanently posted on my door in Mequon, Wisconsin. May America and all its leaders, including those now in the White House, let this spiritual awareness inform and animate and save their hearts. Sandburg. There is only one horse on the earth, and his name is all hooves. There is only one bird in the air, and her name is all wings. There is only one fish in the sea, and the fish's name is all fins. There's only one man in the world, and his name is all men. There is only one woman in the world, and her name is all women. There is only one child in the world, and that child's name is all children. There is only one maker in the world, and that maker's children cover the earth, and they are called all God's children. Amen. Let us sing our closing hymn.
Number 345, With Joy We Claim the Growing Light.
With joy we claim the growing light, advancing thought and widening view, the larger freedom, clearer sight, which from
There's only one horse in the world, and his name is all hooves. There is only one bird in the air, and her name is all wings. There is only one fish in the sea, and the fish's name is all fins. There is only one man in the world, and his name is all men. There is only one woman in the world, and her name is all women. There is only one child in the world, and that child's name is all children. There is only one maker in the world, and that maker's children cover the earth, and they are called all God's children. Blessings to all of you.